Thanks for joining me today. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and today I'm going to be sharing my studio. It's been a while since I've updated my studio tour. There have been some changes around here in my studio, and I thought I'd share them with you. So let's go ahead and check it out. I'll start by giving you kind of an overview of the entire space, and then we'll go into some of the different areas of my office in more detail. So let's go ahead and jump right in. It's not a very big space, so it's just like a small bedroom. I have my desk, which is where I do all my work. I have some various storage. I have my background area, which is the background in my YouTube videos, but it also kind of functions as storage for some different things that I like to have in my office. And then I guess kind of more storage over here. So that's an overview. So let's kind of start with what I think most people are interested in, and that is my desk. So it's not a fancy desk. It really needs to be replaced. I've actually had this thing for a long time, and I'm surprised that it's still even holding anything because it should have broken by now, but it hasn't. Knock on particle board. So I have my computer tower down there, custom built computer. I didn't put it together, but I chose the parts, which is what I use for all of my digital art and editing. I have my Scarlett 2i2 audio box, which I can use to connect my microphones to and my speakers. Some various little bits and pieces like memory cards and remote controls and GoPro and extra phone and stuff like that. Just little miscellaneous things. I'm actually trying to be more organized rather than having piles of stuff everywhere. I have containers with piles of stuff in them. So I've been going to the thrift store and just buying these containers like this for really cheap. So here on my desk, I have my Cintiq 27 QHD, which is what I use for everything: video editing, illustration, graphic design, you name it. I have a Logitech keyboard, which is a really nice keyboard. The keys illuminate and has a little touch wheel. I have a review you can watch on pretty much a lot of the stuff in this office here. Charging pad for my phone that's wireless, which is really handy. I have my Logitech marble mouse, which is like maybe the fourth or fifth one that I've gone through because this is my favorite mouse. I would not trade it for anything. Next to that, I have my trusty Lobster Pen Caddy. You know, I've tried a lot of different stands. This one here that's made by Wacom, and the newer version, but really nothing is as good as this trusty Lobster here. It has these vice-like grips in the claws, which you can use to hold the pen, and let go. Takes a little bit of coaxing to let go of the pen sometimes, but he does a pretty good job. It's kind of like in the Flintstones, you know, you just have an animal do most of the work for you. I have this caddy here, which I talked about briefly earlier. As you might imagine, it has some various remote controls and things like that. My remote for my Cintiq. I've got all these different pens here. Okay, so there's nothing in there. That's just an empty pen case. But I do have some other pens here. There's the Wacom Pro Pen Slim and the Pro Pen 2. I have this TabMate, which is like an express key remote for Clip Studio Paint, which I've been meaning to review. There's a bamboo plant on my desk. This is my buddy here. And I have this giant TV, which I use just kind of as an extra screen. I could put reference images on it. I could be multitasking, working on other kinds of stuff. And then I have, drop the pen, I don't believe that. And then we have the Cintiq 22, which is what I'm using as my third monitor. Normally I just have a regular monitor here, but I figured since I'm kind of reviewing this and working with it, I'll just have it set up as my third monitor. So the other one is just kind of stashed away in my closet there. While I'm pointed in this direction, I might as well show you the air conditioning unit. I guess it's not an air conditioner, it's a fan, but it gets really, really hot in here. Even though I do have air conditioning in the house, it just doesn't really do anything because of all these screens that you can see here. So it's like a sauna in here. It's horrible. I have a AV switcher for video games, which has nothing to do with art, but I'll come back to that in a minute. And then thinking about getting a Ergotron stand for the Cintiq 22 here, but in the meantime, I'm using 2 big books. We look over here, I have a random pile of cables and cords, a whole bunch of hard drives, which I use to back up my work. So this is probably some sort of fire hazard, perhaps. And then I have different selfie sticks and tripod kind of things here, which come in handy. I have a lamp, and behind that I have the digital drawing of an eye that I created in this nice frame, which has bubble glass. I don't know if you can see that, but the glass bulges out. It's this nice antique frame that I painted a little bit to customize. So I'll move over to the other side now. I have a ring light, which I use for my videos. So as you can imagine, I might be sitting here at my desk, sitting in my chair like so. I can sit down, then I'm at my computer, I can be working, and I've got that ring light there, which makes me look nice. So this is kind of what it looks like from where I'm sitting. I have easy access to my vitamins and my water, which is always very important. And I could just be working here on my computer. I can actually grab a pen here from my trusty Lobster. And I could do a little painting here in my sky. Paint in a nice cloud like this. Put my pen back in the old trusty Lobster holder. As you can see, it does actually work. And there we go. This is like 90% of what I do with my life is sitting in this chair, looking at these 3 screens and doing some sort of work on them. So here I have my microphone, which just swings over because it's on a boom stand here for a microphone. This is an AT4040 condenser microphone. And then clamped onto it with a little Gorilla Pod thing is a webcam, which is the Logitech Brio. Now, this is not a sponsored video. I know I'm naming a lot of different products here, but hopefully that's helpful just so you know what I'm working with, because maybe you'll want something similar for your setup. So that makes it really quick and easy to just swing this thing in front of myself like this, start recording. If I don't want it to be in my way and block my screen, then I can just move it back. And then behind that, I have a scanner and a printer, which I use occasionally. Various office supplies, paper and stuff here for that kind of stuff. Bunch of gearboxes of stuff that I've reviewed or purchased that I need to just put somewhere else. Okay, so you've seen some of the stuff that's in the desk area. That's kind of, the stuff that I actually use for work. Some of that stuff that I use for work is kind of behind me here, but a lot of this is just kind of for decoration. It makes me happy to have it here, and it looks nice in the background. Before we get to that, there is this green screen thing and black screen, but it does have a green screen on the other side. I was doing a lot of live streaming, and so I would use that for live streaming. It hasn't been getting used a lot lately. Exercise resistance bands, because it's good to exercise, and also a mat that I can stand on, and I can do steps, so I can get up and do some exercise. Big bright lights, as you might have noticed as well. Those are for making it look good in here for video. So anyways, back to the shelf. So up at the top, I have what I've kind of started as maybe my spawn level here. Try to organize my hoarding collection here. So I've been going to the thrift store a lot, and I find stuff that's cool, like these Spawn action figures, Spawn comics, some other Image comics such as the Max and Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk. There's a Secret Amana strategy guide up there. So kind of, just some comics that I feel nostalgic about. I don't have a huge comic book collection. I just have a few here and there. But those are ones that remind me of my childhood. This is the stuff that I'd use my allowance to buy. It's something that really got me into art, and it just feels good to have it there. So it looks nice in the background. You may notice that there are a ton of drawing tablets in this room, and I'm starting to realize that I don't have anywhere to put all of these drawing tablets. And yes, I know there's a myriad of things that I could do with them, but for now, they just look nice in the background. It illustrates what I do. I review digital art products and use them. This is a Mobile Studio Pro 16. That would be my tablet of choice if I was going to do anything outside of the studio. And I do actually use a real sketchbook here. I have some Faber-Castell pens, some fine point pens, and then of course there's a sketchbook. So I do ink drawing in sketchbooks sometimes. And then beneath that, I have this old camcorder that I was using, but now I'm using a digital camera, which looks a lot better. And of course I have this regular mouse because sometimes people come over and they're like, how the heck do I use your marble mouse? And then I have this other mouse, which I was testing out, but I don't like controlling it with my thumb, so it's just kind of there as an extra mouse. But it is wireless, and I can toggle it between different computers, so I could use it wirelessly with that. So it could come in handy at some point. Some various little bits and pieces of stuff. You don't need to know what that is. I don't think you care. Then I have the Cintiq 16. Then I have this battery bank here that's called the OmniCharge. It's really awesome because it can actually power the Mobile Studio Pro. So that's really cool. It extends the battery life. If we go all the way down to the bottom, then we get into some stuff that has nothing to do with art, I guess. But this kind of stuff got me into doing what I'm doing today. So in a sense, this whole wall here is kind of like a history. Like this is like the history of Aaron Rutten getting into art and things that he's into. I have this Ninja Turtles case, which I got as a gift from my partner. She's really good at choosing gifts because there's quite a few things in this room that are awesome that I received from her. Thrift store scores of various Nintendo characters. These Ninja Turtles cards from the movie. These are kind of cool. It's just been cards with various scenes from the movie. You might wonder, gee, Aaron, why do you have some crayons? Well, these were old vintage crayons that I found at the thrift store from, I think, the 60s. And it's just kind of cool. These are Janet's crayons. And these are Dean's crayons. And I like the smell of them. It reminds me of one of my very first art experiences, which was drawing with crayons, if not the first art experience for a lot of people. These are just as important as any of these tablets here. You know, these tablets are what I use now, but this is where it all started. Burger King promotional collection VHS of Ninja Turtles. At this point, I think it's fair to start calling me a hoarder if you haven't already, because I don't even have a VHS player, but the whole collection was there. So I was like, you know what, I have to buy these. These are cool. I have, from the Ninja Turtles comic book, which is where Ninja Turtles originated from, I have the episode or book 3 of that. That's the start of a collection. See if I can find more. But it's just cool to come across this stuff at the thrift store and something fun to do. I got a Ninja Turtles puzzle. Already looked at the case. Beneath that, there are some various books about art. I have a pretty awesome, sweet collection of The Far Side by Gary Larson. I think it's a nearly complete collection if you're counting all the different books and then compilations, with the exception of the final compilation that just has everything in it. These are just the original. So The Far Side Gallery, and I have a bunch of other books here. These I've been working on collecting for a while. And Alice in Wonderland, book about space, just random stuff here. I have Pictionary. I was kind of doing board games and things like that in my live stream, so that's why they're here. But again, this is just, this is stuff I was into as a kid. Continuing on with that same tangent, Win, Lose, or Draw, and another Pictionary. Yes, I'm a hoarder, I know. A bunch of sketchbooks, if you wanted to just see a random sampling. I actually have some videos about these if you want to really see what's in here, but just random things like this. Feel free to check out some of those videos. I'm messing up everything and making it all disorganized now. So I guess before we get into the next area in the middle, let's swing over here because this is kind of related to some other stuff. Various drawing tablets, nicely displayed here. I got this tower of tablets, as I mentioned. I have a ton of these things, so what are you gonna do with them? A boglin, a camera bag with some various camera gear. That way it's all together if I ever want to go shoot anything. More camera gear, more camera bags. Here's where the organization comes into play. Got this wire basket here that has just random cords, chargers for the various tablets, microphones for cameras. It's just all nicely bundled together. Otherwise, it's just gonna sit up here on a shelf and it just isn't as organized, so. Moving up from that, you might wonder, what are these foam blocks? These are to absorb sound that might be reflecting. When I'm talking over here, I'm bouncing the sound of these hard surfaces. It's coming back, and if it hits the wall here, it's gonna go into my microphone. Where's my microphone? Right here. And then it's gonna make an echoey sound. So long story short, they have a purpose besides just kind of looking interesting. Moving up from there, we have this epic Ninja Turtle collection that's just growing every day. Some of these I received as a gift from my partner, and some of them I found at a thrift store. So we got original Bebop, Transforming Rocksteady, Ninja Turtle Michelangelo that I think kind of winds up, original Raphael, original Donatello and Leonardo. Don't have an original Michelangelo yet, but if you have one, feel free to send it to me. That'd be sweet. I have the Storage Shell, Raphael, original Master Splinter, I believe that's a Genghis Frog, Metalhead, which I just picked up the other day, the movie version of the Ninja Turtles. It's funny, I have a lot of Michelangelos, but I don't have the original one. A contemporary Raphael. Rat King, looks like he got gnawed on by rats. Scuba diving seal Michelangelo. A Raphael on steroids. I believe that's a or is that Michelangelo? I can't see. That's Michelangelo. I think he does a flip. Skateboarding Leonardo. Another contemporary Raphael. Really weird robotic version of Donatello. Space version of Leonardo. A Master Splinter, which this is a learning experience. This looks just like the original Master Splinter, but it is actually a re-release. And it's not 100% identical, but it was enough to fool me. So if you're looking for vintage toys, watch out for that. And you probably already know that kind of stuff, but I didn't know it. An extra original Leonardo, another contemporary Raphael, and a few extra Donatello and Raphael extras. The leg's broken on one of these, so the condition just isn't as good. That's why they're in the back. But you know, you might want them for parts or something. And a tuned version of Leonardo back there creeping. I'm sure there's like 4 people out there who are impressed by this. If you haven't clicked away, here's Spider-Man hanging out. And we got everybody's favorite cartoon character, Donald Duck. It's a little vintage puppet that I found. And then speaking of vintage stuff, this is the VTech Video Painter. This is perhaps my very first digital drawing or painting experience. This thing plugs in, or it did plug into a VCR or a TV in the 90s, and you could use it with this pen to draw, very much like you would with one of these tablets down here, such as the Wacom Intuos. And what you draw on the tablet would then show up on the TV. You could choose some colors. It had some very rudimentary functions. You can thank this thing here for all of the videos and content that I put out now, because this is maybe what got me into digital art. This is the pen from one of my very first drawing tablets. It was not a very good drawing tablet, but you know what? I'll show some respect for it. More crayons, an unused box of crayons from the 60s, if you can believe that. That's pretty awesome. We got Jim Morrison of The Doors hanging out. This is a Todd McFarlane version of him too, so that kind of goes with the Spawn. And then beneath that, we have one of these very inaccurate artist mannequins. We got Michelangelo riding a hot rod. Sweet vehicle. We have
Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah, you should have come to me first, brother, but you waited a long time. I think you're what, 25 minutes into this video and now you're coming to me?
We got one of these electric ball things. Of course, it's not plugged in. How is it not plugged in? What's going on here? Well, I assure you it works. Someday I'll demonstrate it for you. Makes electricity. So moving on down. Oh, nope, can't move on down yet. This is something you probably care to see. This is the award that I got from YouTube for reaching 100,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who helped me reach that goal. Probably a lot of you are watching today, so thumbs up for that. This is for you. Then we'll move on down to the video game stuff. Nintendo, which I purchased recently. Various controllers. Super Nintendo, which I received as a gift from my partner. Yes, complete in box. It's a little yellow, but that's okay. Secret of Mana, which I'll come back to. The NES Classic Edition and the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Some Super Nintendo games, which I received in a trade from one of my patrons. You know who you are. Thank you for that. That really makes my day. And these are good games too. These are some of my favorite games. Castlevania 4 NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Mario Paint, which I'll come back to, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Contra 3, Super Mario World, Super Metroid. And then of course that Secret of Mana that's in there, which is my favorite game for Super Nintendo, maybe my favorite game of all time. Speaking of Mario Paint is like the next level. Like, we start with crayons here, and then we move up to the VTech Video Painter, and then getting into the 90s, the later part of the 90s, I get a Super Nintendo, and then my dad gets me Mario Paint. Mario Paint is perhaps not one of the most popular Super Nintendo games, because it actually isn't a game. It's just like it's like Photoshop or a digital art app where you can go in and you can make stuff, you can build graphics, but you can also make animations, you can make music, you can do a lot of really cool stuff, which is what I do now. I basically play Mario Paint for a living and get paid to do it. It's just my Mario Paint's more sophisticated, but I use this mouse here, plug the game in, play it, you got your mouse pad. This also came as part of the trade. Thank you again for that. So I have my little Mario Paint shrine going on here. Then I have some bins that have my controllers for Nintendo and Super Nintendo, as well as the plugs. That way I am organized. I don't really play a whole lot of video games because I just don't have time to do it. So this might look like I'm just hanging out all day playing video games, but I really rarely play these. Lately I have been because I just got them. Random 80s and 90s toys here. We got some G.I. Joes. This guy's got stomach bug, so he's kind of doubled over. We'll fix him. Storm Shadow was always my favorite G.I. Joe. Wasn't that into G.I. Joe, but I had some. Original Ghostbusters. Transformer. A He-Man villain. Another He-Man villain. Final Fantasy VII back there. Now I recommend, if you are trying to run an art business, play an RPG, a role-playing game like Final Fantasy. Because this is going to teach you how to be economical, teaches you strategy, it teaches you how to grind, how to do things over and over again to build yourself up. That's how I learned a lot of that business stuff that I do nowadays. And then Encino Man is how you learn how to wheeze grindage. And if you're edging, just chill, because you don't need to tax my gig so hardcore, Cruster. All right, so I'm like literally out of breath because I just did this whirlwind tour of everything in my office, and hopefully I covered everything because there's a lot in here, and every time I make this video, I'm like, I forgot that. I forgot the resistance bands. How could I do that? But yeah, I think that's just about it. That and this blanket, this mover's blanket. Why is that there? It serves the same purpose as these here. It just kind of, it absorbs sound. Oh, you might want to see in the closet too. I don't want to forget that. Got some digital art shirts. These are available for purchase. Get your digital art shirts. They come in long sleeve, various colors. Oh, and this is important too. See, I almost left some stuff out. So what is this thing? This is a ball head adapter on a tripod. And so it's kind of a MacGyvered thing here, but basically I can set my camera up on it like so. And then that way I could record myself drawing. So anytime you've seen me doing overhead shots, it's this setup here. It's a nice setup. It goes down to a tripod. There's weights on it. And I can get those really nice overhead shots. It works great for that. I highly recommend that. And as you can see, I've used some tape to tape the various cables because it has to run to my computer to the, where is it? It must have fallen down. Down there in the depths somewhere is my Elgato, which is what I use to capture video. Okay, so I think it's for real this time. I think that's got to be it. That's got to be everything in my office. If you enjoyed this tour of my studio space, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I put out all kinds of videos about digital art. And happy Share Your Studio Day to my patrons, friends, and everyone who watches my content. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.